All right, Nick. My favorite thing that's ever happened on this show is that's 100% just happened, which is which is without question uh, the fact that I messed with Nick's stuff and, and Nick's just on full autopilot, which is perfectly fine. But the fact that that thing said Craig's box score, it would have been on Craig's box score literally for the next hour if we were coming to break. What a night, man. I mean, let me tell you something. When your team scores 13 runs, boy, I tell you what, it feels like I've never taken heroin, to be clear, and or crack cocaine, but for as addictive as those things are, it seems as if this has to be at least somewhat in the direction of that type of feeling. Again, to be very clear, never have done that, don't plan on doing it, and for those that do that, hopefully they can find the help that they need. That's one way to intro into a Chatterbox Reds. We still have 3 outs to get, by the way, just to be clear.
I didn't realize I didn't update it, so that was kind of funny.
Yes, I also just got a clip. I think I owe Max $50, and you know what? I'm all for that. The only thing I'm trying to think of now in chat, you guys can help me out here. I'm trying to think of a song that's about eating your own words or saying that you were wrong or something like that. And I'm going to suggest that that's what the Zebra E-Train, Elliott Rearing, sings when they win this series. So I'm open to any and all suggestions here. You guys' brains are better than me. I'm not cultured. I don't know that many songs, but I would like that type of song, just so we're all clear.
I'm usually on the opposite side of Zebra on most takes. I don't think that take was that bad.
Oh, it's a bad take. You gotta account for the team here. Oh my gosh. Whew. All right. That's 2 of them. Chat's way ahead of you, as always. I tell you, they had that double play like 5 minutes before that one. Whew. India made a good play earlier, though. I will say, I mean, he made a pretty solid play. That double play that they turned, it was. I mean, it wasn't the world's best play, but it was a good play. It was a good play by Johnny. It was a good play. Patrick Sharp's chumming in already. Said, this is just because I'm thrilled with how this team played. Thank you, Patrick. They played great, man. I mean, listen. I mean, we'll talk about it. I don't want to beat a dead horse tonight and say the same things over and over again. So sometimes when you plan on doing a show, you got to hold some things back, you know.
Cardinals just lost too. Cardinals were up, I think 3-1 going into the late innings, and they lost 7-4.
Have I gotten any song suggestions here? Is that a song suggestion from Mouse Cop Radio? Is that a song? I'll tell you what, man. I have to do some Googling here. Chat's already telling me that we've won baseball games. I don't know that for sure yet. Now I do.
Are you ahead of me?
That was a foul. No, that was a foul ball. Apparently, it appears as if, you know, when you stare at the chat in situations like this, that they're way ahead of you, and they we can't do unwritten. That was the song of our generation last year. It's kind of like the helmet, the Viking helmet. I was actually surprised they brought the Viking helmet back out this year, personally, because it's like usually it's like yeah, you have a shtick that sticks with that team, and then a new year's a fresh start. You got to have a new shtick, and they like went with the Viking helmet again, and then obviously they were like at some point this year they're like, yeah, we're done with the Viking helmet. We're doing something different. They should have done that from the start. Just saying, should have done that from the start. Clearly, the Reds won. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
there we go.
Finally, you've seen it. The chat's seen it like 10 minutes ago. You just seen it. And I just seen a ground ball to shortstop. That's a smooth play by Elliott. That's a nice, easy, smooth play. And you know what that means, folks? You know what that means? You get the full experience, baby. You get the full experience. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Rockies won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the wall. Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did. He did. Reds win. Win. Line to the right field. Junior, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream begins the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick. This one was nice. This one was easy. Easy is probably not the right word because, everything's difficult to win Major League Baseball games. I don't want to downplay what they just did. But this was probably, unless I'm forgetting something crazy, this was the most relaxing, enjoyable experience of watching the Cincinnati Reds offense all season long. All season long. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Someone would go dig it up. My brain is not getting better with age. And watching the Reds certainly doesn't help it more times than not. But I will say, Nick, Great night. And you know what I love most? The start time. What a great start time. 8:10.
Yes, great start time. The only problem is, Trey, so here's my issue.
Okay.
And I'm coming in a little negative, and I apologize.
Wow. Whoa. This is what three kids will do to you, apparently.
Here's my issue. So I see an 8:40 start time, and I'm thinking, like, normally, so I have a whole process. Like, especially when we have these 6:40 starts, I have to have everything ready to go,
Right.
like, before the game even starts. But I'm like, oh, the game starts at 8:40. I could do it during the game. Well, then I need to go help with the baby or something. And then it gets into the 7th inning, and it's like, it's a tough scene. It's a tough scene. So now I feel ill prepared, and I don't feel like I'm going to be able to give you 100%. So,
well, sometimes, Nick, what you got to do is you fake it till you make it. I've been doing that a really long time. I do that on half the shows, if we're being completely honest. For those that are wondering why I sound like an idiot half the time, well, sometimes it's just because I'm just trying to gut through a performance at not my 100% best. Tonight, I will try to pick you up, though. Why? Well, I came prepared, and that's what prepared people do. If you're not prepared, I'm prepared. I decided I was going to go get some cups. If you have not had these, shout out United Dairy Farmers. Blue Moo cookie dough. You can buy them in the big tubs. That's all well and good. But the fact of the matter is this is like a nice, perfect amount of ice cream you never feel bad about. Now, I will admit there are times where I grab 2, maybe 3 of these at a time, which, is probably not ideal. But the truth is they taste better out of this. I don't know if that's some psychological warfare I'm doing with my own brain, but I will say straight out of this cup, if you've not had this yet, you should just try it. You should try it. It doesn't taste possibly as good as what you just witnessed with the Cincinnati Reds, but it tastes pretty damn good. And I will tell you, it really works on losses. Like, if they lose, you can get 2 or 3 of those cups, you feel a little bit better about yourself, and you move on with your day. Nick, here's the situation. I know, I've done this enough with you to where I know when we get on the chat, or when we get on, not the chat, but when we get on here before pregame, et cetera, I could tell, like, kind of when you're in positive spirits and when you're kind of feeling rushed. Right now, I'm buying as much time as I possibly can for you. You know what? If we don't,
we gotta roll. We gotta roll with it now.
I was just saying.
Late.
Well, here's what I'm at. If you don't need the box score recap, I can give you one. I can do it right now if you need me to do it.
I think I can rally here. I think I can rally.
All right, you rally. Is a kid show? It's 11:20. Is it still a kid show?
I'd prefer it to be a kid show because it makes it a lot harder
kid show
to edit at 12:30 a.m.
Okay, well, I'll give you my box score recap. You ready then? Kid show, of course. We kicked their butts. It's the best I can do.
Go ahead and say it. Get it out of your system because this isn't going to make it anyways. Get it out. No. Get it out of your system now.
Right. Want me to do it?
Get it out.
Okay.
Get it out.
You know what? I'll give you a box score recap. You want a box score recap? We walked our little happy old selves into Colorado, the old Denver, Colorado. Walked into Coors Field, and we shoved it right up there. If you have kids, get them out of the room. You ready? We shoved it right up their ass is what we did, okay? You literally can't beat a team worse than we beat them tonight. We had guys coming off the bench accidentally hitting home runs, all right? Candelario literally couldn't hit sand if he fell off a camel to begin this season. In the last month, he's turned it around. Tonight, what did he do? Started the game off with a bomb. We got guys hitting balls off of foots and getting double plays. And you know what? I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I don't even care. That's how bad they took care of business tonight. Shout out Will Benson, by the way. Good for him. Box score recap presented by Nick Kirby.
Box score. The beginning of this actually feels very weird now. So Rockies got a run first in the bottom of the first. Took a 1-0 lead. Reds tied it up in the second. Actually scored their first run on a Tyler Stevenson double play. So it was only 1-1 going into the third. But then Ellie De La Cruz had an RBI double. Jeimer Candelario had a 2-run home run. Reds took a 4-1 lead. Rockies did respond with a home run in the third. They also got another run on RBI single from Jacob Stallings. They made it a 4-3 game. Then the Reds would go on to score 9 unanswered runs. Will Benson tripled for an RBI. TJ Friedl had an RBI single in the fourth, and in the fifth, Jake Fraley an RBI ground out. The sixth, Will Benson RBI sac fly. Spencer Steer RBI single. It was 11-3. Then Tyler Stevenson really put a bow on in the ninth with a 2-run home run, made it 13-3. Andrew Abbott, pretty solid performance in Coors Field, 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Brent Suter came in, made it look absolutely easy. He threw 2 easy shutout innings. And Justin Wilson, he threw a scoreless inning as well. Reds win 13-3. Trace, your Cincinnati Reds, 7-3 in their last 10 games. It's a big if the Arizona Diamondbacks hang on and beat the San Francisco Giants, your Cincinnati Reds will be 2 games out of a playoff spot. 2!
That's dos, if you're keeping track in Mexico. Deep drive of the day. Boy, do we have a few of those. Who do we pick? Jameer Candelario. Some are saying a gas station little post out in the middle of nowhere might have got him going. That's not me saying it, of course. He hit his 7th home run of the year. A deep fly ball to right center field. 99.4 off the bat. Now, you might ask yourself, how in the world does that go 423 feet? Well, we don't need to get into the details. That would give your Cincinnati Reds a 4-1 lead, and it jumped their win probability up 18% to 78.3%, and as we all know, it turned into 100%. DSC, they are the sponsor of the Deep Drive of the Day, and they are also a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. And thank you to who? John and his team at DSC. Where do we start, Nick? We have nowhere other place to start than obviously the offense. I'm going to get out ahead of this, and I'm going to say this. I get it was 13 runs. Even before that, before Stevenson kind of, you said he tied a ribbon around it. Before that happened, I genuinely think that this offense, Coors Field can make you look like a little bit of a fool sometimes, right? Like, okay, how much? I thought there was some good swings tonight. I know you can hit it. You can hit like a kind of like a Coors Field induced home run, or maybe like a Coors Field induced double. This, that, and the next. They hit some balls hard tonight. And the fact of the matter is I thought they had good swings. I really, and I'm not saying that this offense has figured it out by any stretch of the imagination, but tonight it felt good seeing it all get put together finally. Now, what that entails for tomorrow, I don't know, but I'm not worried about tomorrow because it's tonight, obviously. So I don't know how you felt. Did you feel like it was more induced based off of the fact they were playing in a big ballpark in Coors Field, or that they actually, I don't know, look competent at the plate?
I think both things are true. I think Coors Field, this team feels like they're almost built for Coors Field. A huge ballpark where the Reds can use their speed on the bases. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's certainly a massive boost when you go play at Coors Field. Now, having said that, they scored 8 earned runs off Ryan Feltner. Ryan Feltner this year, the only team, the best performance all year against him at Coors Field. Philly scored 6 against him. Giants scored 5 against him. Pirates scored 5. He has several performances. Marlins scored 3. Diamondbacks scored 3. Blue Jays scored 2, and he shut out the A's. So, I mean, no one else has scored 8 runs against Ryan Feltner at Coors Field this year. So, I mean, there's certainly a little bit of the Reds involved in this. But it felt like the Reds have the last week or so are playing better. They scored 5 runs in all 3 games at Wrigley Field. One of those games was a shout out to our good friend Seiya Suzuki. But nonetheless, it feels like the Reds are playing better. This is kind of the perfect ballpark for you to hopefully carry that momentum of playing better offensively last week, and hopefully you can carry it for all 3 days, because this is a tough ballpark to win. The Reds are 0-4-1 in their last 5 series. The Reds have not won a series at Coors Field since 2016, and the Rockies have not been above 500 since 2018. This is not an easy place to go win. The altitude plays, tricks on you. The Reds did get a little bit of a break because the Reds don't face the Rockies' 2 best starters, but the Rockies also get a break because they don't face the Reds' 2 best starters. So this isn't like I heard a lot of people, you got to go into to Colorado and sweep. This is you win a series and you move on. So let's try to get it tomorrow. If we get it to win, if we get it, it's gravy. This is when you win a series. You win a series, it's a big deal.
Well, I'm just going to let you know, Super Chat just came flying in right on time from Mark Fetters. He said, let's get a sweep. So
let's get a series win. Let's get a series win. They haven't
Nick's
done it
trying to talk you down off that.
They haven't done
Nick's
it
trying to talk you down off
2016.
that, Mark. I'm not going to do it. I say we just take him right to the woodshed again. You know what? You thought that beating was bad, boys? Wait until you come back tomorrow. Maybe you shouldn't even show up. That might be it. Just go climb the Rockies. Enjoy your national park while you have it out there. You know? That's what I say. But, here we are again. I'm going to try my best not to overreact. This offense has been abysmal more times than it's been special. And the truth is we'll find out if they're able to kind of sustain anything. The only thing that gets me a little bit excited is for as many guys on this team that I think are streaky, I guess is the word I got to use, getting everybody to have a positive day the way that they did feels like it could lead to bigger and better things. Might I remind everybody, there may be just a little bit of magic out in Coors with this Reds bunch. Now, again, maybe I'm trying to stretch it out and give us something to hope for, but you know what? That's what life's all about anyways. It's just hope. If you don't have hope, what do you have? Shout out Obama. But I had to say that. It's a joke, okay? We're not going to do political, but come on. It was right there for the taking, all right? But having said that, this team got back on track, if you want to call it that, last year in Coors, right? They called up McLean, Brandon Williamson of all guys, which he's on the back half of the rundown, comes out. Stop laughing. And next thing you know, they finally started playing what I thought was what it appeared to be winning baseball. Now, I know that there was a short stretch of time. They came back home. If my memory serves me right, they got swept by the Yankees immediately after. I get all that, yada, yada, yada. But again, this team changed. Their DNA changed when they went to Coors last year. So we'll see. Again, maybe I'm making too much of one win, but 13 runs surely feels nice because it has not felt that like this. Almost all season. I mean, maybe opening day, but I haven't felt this good in a long time watching this team. And I know they just swept the Dodgers, but again, I kind of like offense. Offense is fun, Nick. It's like it's an enjoyable product. Winning 2-1's fun, but it's not like this.
Yes. Although I do think if you had your team play all of their home games at Coors Field, you might have a different feeling by the time you get to the end of the season, because I could not imagine. I've just watched so many games in this ballpark, and it's just like I could not imagine this being your every night. It's wild. It's unlike anything in the sport. But like looking at the offense, I mean, TJ Friedl's a big deal being back in this offense. That's the kind of stuff that I look at. He's a big deal at the top of this order. Ellie De La Cruz, 3 hard hit balls today. That's a big deal. The Reds need him to be a superstar if they're really going to make anything this year, or close to a superstar. But then you're looking at more of the fringe players, the guys that are, 90 OPS plus guys to 110, 115 OPS plus guys. Right. All those guys felt like they were 90, maybe even worse at the beginning of the year. Now they're starting to trend back towards that maybe 110. The guys like Candelario, the guys like India, the guys like Benson, they're all playing their best baseball of the season right now. And this offense if I look at it, I see Ellie De La Cruz as a star, and I see a bunch of maybe slightly above average hitters if everything goes well. But I also don't see big holes, right? I don't see a lot of guys that if they're playing well are like these massive holes. Like there's not Kevin Newmans. There's not, I don't know, fill in the blank of other guys that have filled spots in the Reds lineup that have no ability to hit. If these guys start performing to the level that you expect, you have a lineup that at least you have some consistency 1 through 9.
Yeah, I mean, well, you obviously, I'm not going to do this because I feel like I think that the Ellie thing is, it's just a really tough dynamic, right? You have one side of the aisle that, without question, wants to jump on him any opportunity they get for some reason. It feels like, again, I'm not saying this is an absolute fact. This is just the this is just my opinion. The consumption that I have through social media and kind of talking with people, there's a certain population of people that just want to get on Ellie because he's a lightning rod. And in a little bit of a way, and this is, again, maybe cross-referencing sports and all that, it's like there's a little bit of a Caitlin Clark effect with Ellie. You come up with all this hype, you come up with all these things, and then you have like this kind of old school way of thinking like, okay, he's not earned it yet. Like he shouldn't be leading SportsCenter, or he shouldn't be the face of this franchise, and all these things, like, you know, and obviously wearing the jewelry and things like that. There's certain people, I don't know why they feel that way or why, but that's the truth. And I'm just going to say it, like, that's how some people feel. And then obviously you have your folks like yourself, and I'm not trying to say that you're wrong either, Nick, but like saying that Ellie's a superstar, again, yes, no doubt about it. When you look at Ellie, immediately you think that the ceiling, without question, is stardom, beyond stardom. But the reality is that he's an average, below average hitter right now in this lineup. And I mean, just from a pure swinging the bat, I don't think that he's an above average hitter. Yes, he's the world's fastest player. That helps him out from time to time, and he's going to use that capability. And if you want to add that and say that that's basically him being a hitter, that's fine. I'm talking about a pure hitter. I maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so.
He's got a 111 weighted runs created plus right now. I mean,
okay,
sure,
but does that runs weighted created plus? Excuse me. Does that have anything to do with the fact that he's got speed and can run bases?
No, there's a lot of fact to it. He has 9 home runs. I mean, that is a big portion of it. It also has a pretty decent portion that he has an 11% walk rate. It's about 4% better than league average. Ellie's an above average hitter right now, and he feels like he scratched the surface of what he can be. I was listening to the show yesterday, and you drove me nuts a little bit because you went on Tony Gwynn. You compared. I don't know how you got to Tony Gwynn, and I'm like, let me look up Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn. You know what Tony Gwynn's OPS plus was his second year in the big leagues? 105. 105. Ellie's doing that right now.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to compare Ellie to Tony Gwynn. I'm just saying when you watch again, and it sounds like you're a hater when you do these things, and I'm not trying to turn this show into like this big debate, but I just don't see Ellie as a pure hitter right now. I don't. I'm sorry. Or we're not going to bring up the fact that he leads the league in strikeouts.
It doesn't matter.
That does matter. That does matter a little bit. Like, it just does matter a little bit. It matters a little bit. That's all. I'm just saying, if we're allowed to bring up all the great things, we can at least acknowledge and be honest with ourselves and saying that there are some things that need to get significantly better. And that's okay. This offense struggles from time to time because they have Will Benson, who strikes out a lot, and Ellie De La Cruz, who strikes out a lot. And when you have guys on base and you can't get them over and can't get them in because you swing and miss, that happens. And that's okay. I'm not here to suggest that you would kill them for it. They're young players. But I'm not going to also sit here and call, I guess I'm just apprehensive to call someone a superstar when I look it up and down this lineup. Is that fair? No, and you know what? I love it. You are a full-fledged Ellie believer.
Absolutely. I will stake everything I have on Ellie De La Cruz. It's not even a debate. I don't even think twice about this.
That's fair.
Ellie De La Cruz right now is striking out in 32% of his plate appearances. Shohei Ohtani, in his 4th year in the big leagues, his 4th year was striking out in 29.6%. Like, the game has changed. He's a different player. Like, his value is going to come from.
I'm not once said that Ellie's not going to be a great player. I'm just pushing back on the fact that I wouldn't call Ellie a superstar player or an offensive basically hitter right now.
I don't think I called him a superstar. I said the Reds need him to be close to a superstar.
Okay, that's fair.
To
and to be very clear, the last thing I want to do is sit here and debate that our best player is good or not good. That's dumb.
Sure. I think right now, Ellie De La Cruz is the most promising player the Reds have had in my lifetime. Right now, he's an above average hitter. Right now, he's a well above average player because of his defense, because of his speed and all of those type of things. But I honestly, like, in this, I'm not trying to be like mean to people when I say this. I almost like regret hyping up Elly De La Cruz so much because I feel like some people can't handle that. And that, like, when he struggles, it's like, it's like you almost, like, I feel like I was part of the problem putting too much pressure on this expectations for him. I believe in him full heart 100%, but it's almost like it's taken away from the fact that he's 22 years old and he's going to have ups and downs. Every player in Major League Baseball has ups and downs, even the best players. Like Aaron Judge started the year off terrible. But it's almost like I regret a little bit of it because it's like now people like have used that against him, and I just don't feel like that's fair at all to him.
I think you can use the extreme example of what anybody's opinions are of him on either side and get upset about it. I that's where I'm at with it. I don't know how this turned into an Elly situation, but Elly is obviously a lightning rod. I'm not here to talk about Elly, quite honestly. I'm just saying that when you look up and down this lineup, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that any of these guys are bona fide periods that, they are great hitters. There's not any I know we're comparing it to the ultimates right now, and Tony Gwynn's probably not a good example, but, then Joey Votto, you can name all these elite level hitters. But again, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that there's one guy on this team that I would put a significant amount of money that they would have an OPS plus of over 105. Now, Elly, you could argue, is the closest. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree wholeheartedly. Maybe not 105, maybe a little higher than that. But I get what your point was. Maybe like, is there a single player other than Elly that I feel confident can, at some point, not maybe this year, but maybe even like next year, can be like above a 120 OPS plus? I don't. At least the only one that I feel good. Spencer Steer maybe could get close to that. Jake Fraley maybe could get close to that if he only gets at bats against right-handed pitchers. TJ Friedl's a very good overall player because he's a great defensive center fielder, so there's a lot of extra value. So you need TJ Friedl to be a 105 OPS plus guy to be almost an all-star caliber player. So he's a little bit different. But really, Friedl and Elly are the only two players that I look at on this roster that's active right now that I think are all-star caliber players. Maybe Will Benson, but it still feels like almost a stretch for him. Now, Noelvi Marte, he's a guy that could be that. Matt McLean, he's a guy that could be that. Christian Encarnacion Strand, he's a guy that could be that. But the three other guys other than Elly and Friedl aren't on the roster right now.
Yeah, and I just want to be very clear when I say I'm not saying that any of these guys can't do it. What I am saying is that I instead of saying that they could be that, they are that. That's the only thing, is that at some point I'd like to find us in a situation where, and I think we're, again, maybe a year away, maybe 2 years away. And again, we're not going to sit here and forecast in the future that we can't be good this year. I'm not suggesting that. But again, this offense, to be very clear, it was a great night. We'll see if the things can somewhat turn around. But I guess my main point in saying all of what I've said so far is that I'm not totally convinced that this is basically a new stone, turned over, whatever it is that you want to suggest for this offense. Andrew Abbott, I don't know, you want to get into him? It seemed like we were going down a road that we had been down before in this game, where you jump out to a lead and then you're going to give it all back, and then you're in basically a dogfight till the end. But give Abbott credit. He got a double play, got a couple double plays, and basically at the end of the day, he found himself in a position where he held tight. 3 runs total for the Rockies is a pretty, I don't want to say it's pretty stellar, but it's about as good as you could ask. Is that fair? And
anytime you hold the Rockies to 3 runs in that ballpark, it's a good night. You're not going to do that very often. It felt like, kind of as you were saying, when this game got to 4-3, what was it in the 3rd inning?
Yep.
I was kind of expecting, this is going to be one of those Coors Field back and forth games, probably 10-9, something like that. That's how I felt. But Abbott was able to really put the clamps down. This was one of his most impressive starts of the year. this is not a ballpark that suits him well. You know what it does to off-speed pitches, to breaking pitches. This is not a good ballpark for him. And for him to go out and throw six innings of 3-run baseball, he only gave up 3 hard hit balls according to StatCast. So I thought he pitched incredible tonight. I thought his effort was remarkable, especially coming off his worst start of the year as well. I mean, you're coming off your worst start of the year, then you have to go pitch in Coors Field, a ballpark that I don't think suits you very well. It's a pretty tough stretch there. So this was a big start from him.
Yeah, and on top of that, he didn't get off to the best start either, right? He could have snowballed out of hand, and that just didn't happen. Throwing strikes, again, a big name of the game, man. It's just a big name of the game. You can throw the ball over the plate. I know I'm not breaking any earth-shattering news, but it continues to be true. If this pitching staff can find a way to be able to make sure that their walk rate stays low, I think that they're good enough. They're capable enough. Their stuff is good enough to get outs more times than not. Very rarely do you see what happened to basically the Rockies' arms tonight happen to the Reds. It's happened, but more times than not, the reason it's happened is because they've walked a considerable amount of guys rather than just getting torched all over the yard. So there is that. Jonathan India, you know what he did tonight? You had to have seen it if you were on X.
Yeah, he officially got the old Bally parlay.
Yeah.
So shout out to that.
Yeah, no free ads, but shout out to the Bally Sports Parlay. They were Reds Daily was kind of keeping a nice daily tracker of this thing. They were 1 in whatever it was, 40 or something crazy. I don't know what it was.
They cut their units in half.
Boy, did they ever.
They would again tomorrow. They're going to be almost breaking even, baby.
Yep, that's what the books want you to think too. Let me tell you, that's what the books want you to think.
One day away.
Hey, they'll be advertising the Colorado Rockies parlay on June 3rd all year next year about how look at this, look what you can do. Listen, I thought India again. The fact that he had a multi-hit day is great, but even more so, I thought he's looking competent in the field. The one double play turn was a little questionable, yes, but. I don't know how much longer he's going to have to play second base for the Cincinnati Reds, but if he's going to continue to play there, I'm going to appreciate the fact that when he does relatively well defensively and he's just hanging tough, He's hanging tough. He kind of feels like the 7th man of a basketball team right now where you don't expect a whole lot out of him. You're just hoping they don't make you lose in a way. Like they're not the reason that you're playing horribly. So you survive and advance another day with Jonathan E. at second base. And again, I'm going to give him credit for playing it relatively well.
Yeah, he's playing really well of late. Since the first game of that Dodgers game in the homestand.
Yeah.
This was just coming in today, not even including today. Had a 194 WRC plus. 346 average, 486 on base percentage. So his last 12 games or so,
right,
his on base percentage is over 500 right now. So yeah, he's playing very well. His offensive numbers were atrocious, and all of a sudden his OPS is up to 687. His OPS is almost up to 700 right now. So
right,
it's a long season. I'm still not completely sold that Jonathan India is an everyday player. I wish I could just give great vibes about that. But right now there's not a whole lot of alternatives. So you need Jonathan India to play well. And even still, you still need Jonathan India, even if like Noelvi Marte comes back, even if Matt McLean comes back, you still could use Jonathan India in some sort of platoon role. We know this team struggled against left-handed pitching. So yeah, India's played really, really well the last couple of weeks. And it feels like kind of everyone's kind of slowly playing better all at once.
I agree. And you know what? We had been begging for these guys to start playing a little bit better because it seemed as if they couldn't play worse, right? Like we got to a point in this season where it felt like we were going to lose every single night. Let's not act like we weren't there about a month ago. As that's where we were at. We were on the depths of I think I said we were on the depths of hell, and it felt that way for what seemed like 2 weeks. And inevitably, you knew in the back of your mind, Nick, that they probably were going to start playing better. But I guess when you're running through it and when you're grinding through it a little bit, you kind of do have the doubts, don't you? Like Jonathan India, we know has to be a better player than he's playing right now. Like, he's not this bad. Like, we thought he might be a little overrated, per se, based off the fan base perspective of him. But the reality is he's not playing he just can't possibly play this bad for the rest of the season. And then here he comes. He's turning it around. Another guy, Will Benson. I don't know if he's on the back half of the rundown or not. We can go ahead and jump to that now. If he is, then I'll kind of I don't want to say I'll tailor my thought. But yeah, let's add Benson to that. So, like, Benson, I thought got the biggest hit of the game, personally. Now I know that's like 13-3. But they cut it 4-3, right? And if memory serves me right, we scored so many runs, it's hard to keep track of them all. But he gets a big 2-out hit. And it was a bases clearing triple. Am I remembering this right?
Yes.
Yeah.
3 RBI.
That by far, in my mind, was the biggest hit of the game, because it kind of felt like you took the Rockies' best punch and then you answered back with a big time blow as well. And it felt like from there moving forward, that obviously was the end of the threat from the Rockies. But if he doesn't get that hit, does it change the game? I don't know. We'll never know. But again, the same way that the slump went in a bad way, right? It felt like everything was losing was contagious. Not getting a big hit in big spots was contagious. I thought that catapulted the Reds into a position where it allowed them to continue positive momentum, and they found themselves obviously rallying to score 13 runs after that. But again, Will Benson did something that this team desperately needed and has needed to do over the last few weeks, and they've started to do a lot more of it, is get big 2-out hits. And give shout out to him. He's down 0-2 and didn't get beat on, I think it was didn't get beat on the fastball. And I don't care if the pitcher missed a spot or not. This team, when they weren't going well, Nick, they weren't hitting anything, even when pitchers were missing their spots. So at this point, I don't care if it was a pitcher's mistake or if a hitter just made a great play. Shout out to Will Benson.
Yeah, Will Benson came into tonight. The stats don't update right away for things like splits. Had a 791 OPS against right-handed pitching. So it was him playing against too many lefties. I think that number one really skewed his numbers, and then number two, I think it also hurt his confidence because he wasn't crushing righties early in the year either.
Right.
But I think the combination of that made us feel way worse about Will Benson than he actually was. Will Benson in his role, it looks like he's almost the same player he was last year. He's still striking out a little bit more than he was last year. But if the results are a guy that has an OPS over 800, I don't really care. I don't care how you make your outs if you're productive when you don't. And on Jonathan India, this was the guy, Jonathan India's OPS was 600 on May 23rd. It's only June 3rd. And like I said, it's up to 687. That's a good reminder of how early it still is in the year.
Right.
That it can go that far, that quick. So again, we don't want to jump to anything really one way or the other. I don't think we want to jump and be like, hey, we're right back. But also, it's still, there's still a lot of baseball left to be played this year. This was only game number 60 of the season.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people that have watched baseball for a long time and remember the old playoff days, right, or remember the old playoff structure, it's just hard to get used to the fact that if you're 3 or 4 games under 500, Nick, that you're so far from not being out of it. It's crazy. And you've talked about this time and time again about how the projected win total for the last wild card spot is going to hover right around 82 wins. I mean, it's I do like it. Do I think they watered it down? There's no doubt about it. The playoffs are watered down a little bit, but you know what? It gives, for lack of a better term, it gives small market teams an opportunity to compete most of the year for a postseason spot. If you found yourself winding up in a position in the old days where you had to win your division, and then there was only one wild card spot, his season's toast. Like, if we're being completely honest, the season's completely toast, but that's not what it is. So I got to get used to that because I feel like that still is in my brain a lot. Like, I'll look at the record, I'll see them 4 or 5 games below 500, and it just puts me in a pretty sour mood. Gif in the chat asked about the OPS plus. OPS plus, as far as like what the average OPS plus is, it's 100. That's kind of like the cool thing about OPS plus is that 100 is literally the league average. So anything over 100 is above average. Anything below 100 is below average. And then obviously you can kind of do the percentage points from there based off of 100, 120, 140, whatever it may be. If you're looking for an updated OPS plus, Nick might have a better one, but Baseball Reference does a pretty good job of kind of keeping up with it. Right now, Spencer Steer leads the Reds in OPS plus at 111. Ellie De La Cruz is right behind him at 110. Jake Fraley's at 106. Stevenson's at 105. Candelario, believe it or not, is at 102, and Will Benson's at 102. And that is the end of all of your above average hitters in Major League Baseball for the Cincinnati Reds. I do want to shout out, though, Jonathan India is pretty close. He's at 92, and then it drops off.
And that is that is not updated. Not updated from today.
Not from today. Yeah. So that'll update what time? They update like tomorrow, like middle of the night, I assume?
I actually know because I was working on a project about 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Okay. Nick Kirby's seen it update live before.
Yeah. If you really want, so Fangraphs has a version that's very similar, weighted runs created plus. If you click on the individual player, there'll be a little thing under them at the top that says live, and it will actually update those players live or close to live. It's not like each was like maybe 20 minutes behind, but right now after the game's over, it's all in there.
So there's your fun food for thought here for today's keeping track of your Cincinnati Reds offensive players. All right. As always, we got a lot to get to. One of them is some super chats. Boy, we got them coming in. Big Red Machine, they are all over the supers. And let me tell you something. I don't know if you know this, Nick, but I love the Big Red Machine. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but I think that they are undervalued in this franchise. I don't think we talk about them enough, if we're being completely honest, Nick. Have you ever seen them highlight the Big Red Machine? I haven't. I'd like for them to start giving those guys some credit around the ballpark. Please. He said Ellie's foul ball was BS. He's not wrong. Apparently, Reds protocol, if Ellie gets pissed at ump, Reds clear the bench to get between them. Thought Tyler was going to sack Ellie to keep him in the game. Yeah, they were clearly. You could tell, shout out Benavidez. He was acting like he did his best Anthony Munoz impression in there, getting Ellie out of there. So, you can't have Ellie De La Cruz getting thrown out of the game. Now, it was 13-3, so at the time it was 11-3, I think. But you'd like to think that it was in the bag, but you never know. He then chimes in. Go ahead.
And there might have been some folks that saw Ellie's first two at-bats and the high exit velocity and decided to take a live home run bet that got absolutely, screwed on that. So the poor people that did something like that, they might feel a little cheated tonight.
Tough. I didn't know that you got stolen from like that, Kirby. That's ridiculous. Class action lawsuit coming our way.
We still cleaned up. We still cleaned up tonight.
I mean, if you didn't, I don't know what missed tonight for the Cincinnati Reds. Big Red Machine does chime back in and says, if this is Ellie slumping, I'll take it. He's played every game all season, and he's adjusting to the adjustment. He's a superstar. I mean, listen, I'm not saying he's not a superstar. I'm just to be very clear, I was saying I don't know if he's a superstar hitter. That's a very different thing than all of the other things. I think he's unbelievable speed. And I think he also plays very good defense. As much as we want to, and he made an error tonight, right? But I think overall, when you take the bad with the good, it is overwhelmingly good. And the truth is, the one thing that you said in there that is not talked about enough, Nick, in my opinion, is the fact that he plays every day. Like, this kid plays every day. Your best ability is what, Nick?
Availability.
Exactly. And you know what this team has lacked a lot of? Availability. They've lacked so much availability that we have guys on X.com and in the chat complaining about our medical staff. Now, I'm not here to defend the medical staff, by the way. I'm just saying that if we have our fan base mad at a medical staff, that means to tell me we got a lot of guys who don't play a lot. And we do have that. And you know what? Shout out to Ellie, because he's there every single night. Now, that's me knocking on wood for those that are going to say something to me if something were to accidentally happen. Go ahead.
Giants just lost. Reds 2 games out of a playoff spot.
Look at him. He's some are saying we're all the way back. Just saying. Not me. Some are saying. I'll tell you who's all the way back. Michael Roth. Michael Roth said, ready for it? Meet. Break the show, Craig. Box for the win. He then says, am I the only one that doesn't want the first base coach to aggressively high-five Friedl after reaching base? Friedl has wrists made of glass. Take it easy, Cowgill. I think what he's saying is Cowgill is giving him too good of high fives. Doesn't like that. By the way, Cowgill doesn't come from the school of the NFL. He's not watched Concussion. He's not seen this movie with Will Smith, because hit dude just whack. You ever seen him hit somebody like, it's like, hey, yo, Cowgill, brother. I mean, I know that you're excited, but let's make sure that we don't give somebody a little bit of a what we call a concussion by trying to smack their helmets together.
Maybe you're onto something here. Maybe that's the reason for all these injuries. I mean, I think we need Chatterbox investigates. We need to get on this. We need to see is Cowgill the reason that our entire roster's on the IL.
That wouldn't hold up in court, because the defendants would say that they would say that they don't get on enough to make it worth it. I mean, that's what.
Well,
just being honest. Your Honor. Yeah, Your Honor. This guy that you're saying had a concussion. He's gotten a Cowgill helmet knock 2 times in the last month. Just saying. All right, let's get back to it. We got plenty more to get to. Joey, the delusional Reds fan, says Kirby, didn't spell it right, but I think that's what I meant. Kirby needs to wear the City Connect every night. If they're going to hit like this, then he wears it. All right, Joey, the delusional Reds fan. I love this super chat, but I'm going to have to read this exactly how you typed it out, okay? You ready? I'm going to do it. I love you, but I got to do it. I just bared through that, but it says Kirby needs to wear the City Connect every niche. If they're going to hit like this, then wears it. Love that, Joey, the delusional Reds fan. He also says Fireball. Have you had Fireball, Joey? Houston Burger says 17 division games left, and the month is insane. Reds could easily be in second place this Sunday after we sweep the Cubs. Houston, you're onto something. I'll also say you are absolutely crazy. You are crazy. I mean, a 4-game series against the Cubs, and you think, I'm just saying, if we sweep the Cubs in a 4-game series, we're going to have to really do some man therapy to read mouse. All right, I got a couple more to get to, and then we got to get to a show. Michael Roth says, Nick, can you check the square footage of Delaware? I'm pretty sure the whole state could fit in the outfield of Coors Field. Pretty sure the right fielder had to run a 5K to reach Benson's triple. He's not wrong. It is a massive outfield. It's got to be the biggest square foot outfield in all of Major League Baseball, and it's not even close, right?
I think
That's
so.
got to be. That's got to be it. I mean,
That doesn't really help us.
We'll figure it out later. Leave it at the table then says, late to the party. Why did TJ leave the game? Also, put the... Oh, shoot. What do I do here? What do I do here? Leave it on the table. I think I got to read it. Listen, you know the people that send me DMs and complain about the fact that I say some bad words from time to time? I get some people like that. You know what? I don't blame them, because if they're in the car listening to it with their kids, there's times where I try to listen to some podcasts and I'm like, you know what? I got my kids in the car. Can I possibly listen to something I enjoy without having to have my wife complain about what I'm listening to because it's cussing around the kids? Now, they've heard it before, but you get my point. But if you're listening to Kid Was in the Car right now on YouTube, I would tell you that Nick does a really good job of editing out all of this stuff. So if you'd like to listen to the podcast, it's always pretty much a kid's version. And the fact that I know we're doing supers right now, it's not going to make the podcast in the first place. I'm going to read it because leave it at the table. Sent $5 to say it. And I'm going to say it. He said, I'm late to the party. Why did TJ leave the game? Also, we put the cockies to the Rockies and get this thing back on track. LFG. I don't know if you know what LFG means, but it means something that is not kid appropriate. Joey, the delusional Reds fan, said, I may have celebrated a little. Fireball may have been involved. Yeah, it may have. We love you, Joey. All right. That was a lot. I know. That was a lot. And we very much appreciate the supers, by the way. Thank you. We'll get to more supers at the end of the show, but we got to get back on track. And the only way I know how to get back on track, quite honestly, is talking about the Game Time app. Nick, I don't know if you know, but you're the one that has the official Game Time read. But I just want to tell you something. I got a message today from the Game Time people, and they said they have the top 15 concerts the top 15 concerts of the summer on the app right now. And I'm gonna do a little game with you when you're done with the Game Time app read. I'm gonna do a little fun game. We're gonna have fun with the chat.
Oh no, is it with me?
Well, it's with everybody.
Was I supposed to not see this list?
I'm going to say over under 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the top 10, over under 5. You know them. You know at least a song of theirs.
Okay, I see the list though. I don't know if I just ruined it.
You ruined it.
I'm sorry.
You ruined it. You ruined it. You ruined it. You looked at the answers. Go ahead.
You had to hire me. All right. The Game Time app is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seats, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. They have all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature. Shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkouts. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CINCI for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code CINCI, CINCY, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
That it is. I'm also well aware that we just got on the back half of the rundown, and it's we're 57 minutes in, so we'll speed it up a little bit. Okay, we'll speed it up a little bit. I see the chat. I'm not blind to it. All right. Where was it at? Now I've lost it. Someone just said it's midnight. I gotta go. Chris Ashley's like, it's midnight. I'm out of here. All right. See you tomorrow, Chris. Here's the thing. I don't know if you know, but Game Time, they put out their top 10 things. I've heard of Adele before. Have you ever heard of Olivia Rodrigo?
Doesn't she have like a vampire song?
You knew that?
Trace, I make all your TikToks, brother. I got to be on TikTok every single day. I know who all these people are, not all of them. I know who everyone is till like the one in between the Noah Kahn guy and the Rolling Stones. I have no idea who that one is.
Los Bookies?
I've never heard of that one.
Her, he, whoever it is. They. Olivia Rodrigo, though, never heard of her. I listened to one of her songs on YouTube. Probably won't be going to that concert. Just saying. Bruno Mars, though. Shout out Bruno. Rolling Stones. What about Garth Brooks, George Strait, Chris Stapleton? Chris Stapleton, he's not as old, but Bruce Springsteen. I mean, that's timeless, is what you call that. Download the Game Time app, as always. 988. I've already given them a shout out a little bit with the mantherapy.org. But again, to be very clear, 988. It's always there. Text, call. You need it. You know where to find it. All right. Relatively quickly. Don't want to spend a ton of time on Williamson and Ashcraft, but I think that it's a reasonable discussion about what exactly is going to happen if they have to make some kind of adjustment with the starting rotation. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if there's a perfect answer here. I don't think that there is. I know that everyone's going to suggest that Ashcraft, like, oh, let's give it a shot in the bullpen, this, that, and the next. He's not been, in my opinion, like 100% he gets a demotion largely based off his performance. And I'm also going to say, you know this, I very much like Brandon Williamson. Yes, I've defended him. I suggested that if he was healthy coming out of the spring, that he deserved every opportunity to make the rotation as Andrew Abbott. And I still feel that way. Now, I know that how it all played out, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll also say that I'm not going to, like, hook, line, and sinker be like Ashcraft, 100% throw him in the pen because Brandon Williamson a year ago, Nick, we literally were like, this guy's washed. He's done. He's not even going to make it to the big leagues. And then we're like, oh, they're going to bring him up and throw him to the Wolves in Colorado. And then it turns out to where he threw the ball relatively well. And now we're talking about how you got to find a spot for him in the rotation. Let's just all I'm going to say is let's all pump the brakes here a little bit. Let's not sit here and act as if Brandon Williamson is Nick Lodolo or anything of these likes. So I'm just going to openly say if they want to kind of like just let a guy miss a start here and there to make sure that they, again, keep guys in pitch counts and innings limits and all those things. I know people hate that, but the truth is like this roster has a few of those guys in the rotation that it wouldn't be a terrible thing to do from time to time. I'm not going to demote. And when I say demote, I don't mean it as much as that, as just move Ashcraft to the bullpen just because you need to make room. If you want to let Ashcraft miss a start and then let Abbott miss a start and then let maybe even like Green miss a start, again, these guys are young. I'm not opposed to that, is what I'm getting at, versus just saying automatically let's get Ashcraft to the pen. Your thoughts on that, if any?
Yeah, I see someone right in our chat pointing out 6-man rotation. We've talked about that many times. I fully support that if they think that would be okay. That wouldn't mess up Hunter Green. But you have to know Hunter Green. You have to know Hunter Green. You have to know like Dolo. Would they be okay with that? The number one most important thing right now about the Reds rotation is that you keep Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo pitching well. Because they're your one, they're your two. And Andrew Abbott really probably deserves to be also up very close to that mix as well, the way that he's pitched. I don't think I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum if they option Williamson down to Triple-A, if they decided to put Williamson in the bullpen, and they weren't going to make the bold move of moving Ashcraft to the bullpen. But here's what I'll say. If this was the Milwaukee Brewers, I don't think they would hesitate. I think they'd say, we think Brandon Williamson right now is a better starting pitcher at this moment than Graham Ashcraft. We're going to move Graham Ashcraft to the bullpen. We're not going to mess around. So that's kind of where I kind of lean at, is like, well, the Brewers, man, they do this all the time. They do this all the time. They have moved guys from starting pitcher to relief pitcher, up and down. They're putting guys in different roles. So
right.
That's where I kind of say I think right now Brandon Williamson probably, I'm not saying definitively, he probably is the better starting pitcher on June 4th, 2024.
I'm not going to. I don't think that anyone with a reasonable take could really be that passionate one way or the other about that. Is as a whole. So depending on what they do, I'm not going to be overly crazy about it either way. I would like to see. I would say this. I think if you take Ashcraft, some people are suggesting to option him to Triple-A to keep him as a starter. Like no, like with all due respect, Ashcraft can help this team. Like he's one of the better arms out of the bullpen if you throw him in the bullpen. Let's do that. I'm not here to like, you know how I feel about the whole psychological thing with all these guys. Like they're not babies, all right? They're grown adults. They're professionals. You should be able to send a guy to the bullpen and then a month later ask him to start. And if they're worth their weight or they're good enough to do it, they'll do it. It's not a matter of whether or not you babied somebody into something or not. I think that's at least my take on the whole thing. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And lastly, like most of the Reds pitchers in their bullpen, most bullpens were guys that were starting pitchers. Buck Farmer was a starting pitcher at one point. Lucas Sims, when the Reds got him, was a starting pitcher. So it's hard for me to believe that Graham Ashcraft, if you stuck him in the bullpen right now and you only had him do 2 innings at a time, he wouldn't pick it up to another level. I think Graham Ashcraft specifically, out of all the Red starting pitchers, would take maybe the biggest leap in terms of going to the bullpen, because that 96-mile-an-hour cutter, that if you're preparing to face him, it's a little bit easier to, kind of get your swing path and all those kind of things for it. But when you're seeing him after you've saw Andrew Abbott or after you saw Nick Lodolo, then he comes in with that, it could be even more effective. So I just kind of lean back to, if this was the Milwaukee Brewers, I think they move him to the bullpen, and I don't think they think twice about it. That's why I kind of would like to see the Reds be aggressive. But like we've said, I'm also not going to be super passionate if they say, hey, Ashcraft's been a solid pitcher for us for several years now. We're going to ride and die with him a little bit longer.
Okay. Marte. Now, here's the thing I want to warn you about. The same thing that you say that you wish you would have done with Ellie, I think is the same concept that should happen with Marte. Personally, I love Marte. I think Marte looked like the best, again, when we do this whole thing with hitters and all that. And I think we got a little into the weeds a bit on the whole Ellie thing, and I'm sure people are going to get mad at me because I said he wasn't a superstar hitter. I would just say, like, when I watch guys hit Marte, of all of the young core or young players, he looks like he has the best approach. He looks like he's the closest thing to a guy that you can rely on year in, year out to consistently put up stats from an offensive standpoint. And I wholeheartedly believe in Marte. I say all that to say this, though. I'm not 100% expecting him to come in and hit the ground running and look like the guy he was last year. And I'm going to tell you all right now that I'm not going to do the whole steroid thing was the reason he was good. I don't believe that for a single second. So if he starts struggling the first 2 or 3 weeks that he gets back here, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he took steroids. I think it has everything to do with the fact that he took a year off of baseball, basically, and now he's trying to figure his way out again. Simple as that. And I think it'll all work itself out. I think he deserves to play because of the way that this team has struggled offensively, and he's somebody that can help you get to the postseason, even if he can't possibly play in the postseason. This is coming from a guy that said at the beginning of the year that I wouldn't even play him at all if this team, and again, this was before McLean, this is before Friedl, this is before all these guys got hurt, but this was the same person that said I wouldn't play Marte in the big leagues this year if you had a team in which was clicking on all cylinders and playing great, because if you can't use him in the postseason, then what's the point of using him if you don't have a problem? Well, guess what, Nick? They got a little bit of a problem. So let's use him, and if he can get us to the postseason, we'll worry about that later. So, but I'm going to be honest, I don't expect him to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to have him back as an option for sure. I mean, his defense is probably the thing I'm most excited about. The fact that you can plug him in at third base or second base. The Reds said they're going to give him some reps at shortstop and second base, which kind of makes me think a little bit about, all right, well, would they move India back to first base or DH or something like that? Because I do think that Marte's floor, with all due respect, is still better than Jonathan India.
You think that's had anything to do with McLean, though? Like, there's a little semblance of truth there, too.
Yeah, I mean, Marte could join the team at the end of this month. I mean, we were still into August at best case scenario. You still got a month and a half to figure out even if McLean is still on track.
So you think it's just like patchwork?
Yeah, I think they just want more. I think they want more options. I think more so than anything else. I don't think they want to play Candelario at second base in the middle of the season. That was originally part of the plan, was to have Candelario have the ability to play some second base. But I don't think he hasn't played second base all year. I don't think you want to do that. But again, back to Marte himself. I mean, coming into the year, it was going to be hard for him to replicate what he did, because what he did in the majors was better than what he did at Double-A, and it was better than what he did at Triple-A last year. Like, he outperformed. Now, that being said, I mean, Marte is a guy that he doesn't strike out a lot. He's been less about 20% almost every stop. So that'll be kind of a welcome sign for this lineup, just a different different type of hitter. And like I said, he may be an average hitter. He may have a 90 WRC plus, but a 90 WRC plus with good defense, good base running. Remember, he was a really good base runner. That's still an upgrade over what the Reds have right now.
He is coming off an injury, though. I just want to say that openly. I don't know. You just never know what you're going to get back from a base running perspective when you pull a hamstring. You just don't know. And he's young, so I don't want to compare him to Griffey, because when Griffey did it, he was much, much later in his career than Marte, and hopefully a younger player can bounce back better. But my whole point to the whole Marte thing is, let's not, I don't know why I'm even saying it, because I already know that it doesn't matter what, rational fans or whether you're, I don't know, again, you fan however you want to fan, but I think you're setting yourself up for failure if you expect Marte to come back and you think that you're getting the guy that left at the end of last year on a 16-game hitting streak and looked the way that he looked. Now, you can be upset that he's not that. I'm not saying that. But I don't know if that's something that I would just lean on heavily when he comes back. Speaking of that, when he comes back, though, he's going to rehab. And when you rehab, you get to play for teams that are not in the major league team. And they usually call that the minor leagues. It's called Reds MILB, and it's presented by Nick Kirby on a pretty much nightly basis. If you didn't see Reds MILB yesterday on the show, it's because it wasn't on the show. It was on the podcast in the morning. Nick, this is my favorite part of the show. I got to be honest.
And also, just in case you didn't see the news, Marte is scheduled to start his rehab assignment on June 11th. I'm assuming it's Triple-A. They did not specify.
Yeah.
So it's June 11th. Then I think it's the 26th. It's 15 days. So, yeah, I mean, that's next week. We'll start seeing Noelvi Marte. You'll start seeing Noelvi Marte pop up on this portion of the show.
I also want to say this. I think that he could play in Dayton too, to be honest, depending on the way that the schedules work out. At my point, it wouldn't shock me if he was in Dayton at first or in Louisville at first. And if one of those teams, I've not looked at the schedules, but if one of those teams are on the road for 6 straight days or something like that, then they could flip-flop him to make it to where he's not, with all due respect to Noelvi, in the minor leagues on the buses for a week.
They are at home on the 11th against St. Paul. So if you're in the Louisville area, you go see Noelvi Marte the 11th to the 16th. And then, so really he's going to be 2 series. That's 2 series. And then they go to Omaha. And then that goes all the way to the 23rd. They're off the 24th. They started no series the 25th, but then the 26th is when he can be activated. So it's 2 series. It'll go by pretty quick. Yeah.
And he's been getting at bats in the complex league, right?
Not like he's allowed to work out with them. He's not allowed to appear in anything that are official games, but he's faced like live pitching now. I mean, these are the the Reds 17, 18, 19-year-old.
Right.
This is Sheng and Lin type players that he's been playing against. Although, you know what, they did like Connor Overton was out at the complex league. There's a couple other minor leaguers that are a little older that were rehabbing. A lot of times they send them out there first. So he probably did actually face, some guys like Connor Overton that are, a little more skilled than, your typical guy that just, got out of high school or whatnot. All right. So Reds MILB, all the regular affiliates are off, but the ACL Reds, the Arizona Complex League Reds, they won 12-5 today, and a massive day from Sheng and Lin. 3 for 3, a triple, 3 RBIs, and a stolen base. So a big day. And we also had, today was the first day. Oh, I didn't get the pictures, and I uploaded the pictures too. And we're doing this live, baby. We're doing this live. I uploaded the pictures.
I tell you right now, Adolfo Sanchez's family would be very appreciative.
There you go. See, look, we were 2 clicks away. But yeah, so this is still exciting. I'll talk about this just for a second here. So the Dominican Summer League Reds, they lost 5-1 in their first game. But Adolfo Sanchez, 1 for 3 with a walk. He also had an outfield assist playing center field. So this was his debut. He's currently the Reds' number 21 ranked prospect. He's only 17 years old. when the Reds got him, he was the number 5 overall prospect on the top 50 international prospects for the 2024 signing period. Reds gave him $2.7 million. So he made his debut, and then hopefully I'm saying this guy's name right, Nabiel Marciano. He was 1 for 4. He's the Reds' 29th ranked prospect. He's also 17 years old. He's a shortstop. Reds also gave him a $1.65 million signing bonus, which, if I'm reading and understanding this right, I'm trying to learn a little bit more about this stuff. What the Reds have spent in the international money this year and in recent years is quite a bit more than what a lot of other teams are doing. So the Reds invested a lot more heavily. It sounds like most teams would have been content with just signing like a guy like Adolfo Sanchez to a big deal, not doing another $1 million plus deal. So they're investing heavily into this. I love this. I love spending more on more guys that are like lottery type tickets, because again, some of these guys might turn into Ellie De La Cruz. Maybe not Ellie De La Cruz, but maybe there's a Noelvi Marte. You know what I mean? So, but we'll keep track on these guys. Their ETAs on MLB Pipeline, both of them are 2029. So, Lord willing, we're still doing Chatterbox Reds in 2029, and we'll be talking about Adolfo Sanchez's debut, and hopefully someone in the chat will remember, hey, I remember when Nick talked about him making his professional debut at 17, baby.
Love that. All right, we're going to do who, what, when, where, and why next. And then obviously I know we have dunks to do. We have a couple supers we'll get to, and then we'll send everybody on their merry way. I know it's a late night tonight. Thank you for hanging in here with us. We got a ton of people in the chat still. It's ridiculous, and we very much appreciate all of you. So, Nick, who, what, when, where, and why?
Yes, another 8:40 start time. This, Trace, is the last start time after 8:10, I think, the rest of the year. This will be the latest start time remaining of the entire season. Reds will be going up against a pretty solid starter in Ty Block, 3-5, 4.15 ERA. He's kind of had an interesting career. This guy was at one point the opening day starter for the San Francisco Giants back in 2018, but he's kind of bounced around, found his way to Colorado, which many pitchers in Mr. Block's shoes find themselves. Interesting pitcher, 4 pitches, sinker, changeup, cutter, curveball. Sinker only averages 89 miles per hour. He does not strike out many guys at all. A career 5.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. So certainly pitches to contact. Last 2 starts have been his best of the season and his deepest as well. Last start out against a really good Guardians team, 7 innings, just 2 runs. And then the start before that against the Phillies, 6 2/3 innings, only 2 runs. He does have a career 6.27 ERA against the Reds. The active Reds that have faced him, Candelario is 1 for 3. Espinal is 2 for 3, and Friedl is 0 for 1. And then Frankie Montas for the Reds, coming off a start. Just it felt like it's been like the theme of Montas of late, kind of okay, but not great starts. 6 innings, 3 runs against the Cardinals. The start was actually Montas' only 3rd quality start of the entire season. Career 5.02 ERA and 3 starts against the Rockies. Active Rockies, though, have really hit him hard. 9 for 23. It's a 391 average, 895 OPS. Charlie Blackmon is 3 for 8. Ryan McMahon is 4 for 4 with a pair of doubles. But, hey, Reds try to get their first series win against the Rockies at Coors Field since 2016 tomorrow.
Boy, it would be nice for those that are keeping track on the books. The Reds are favored to win tomorrow, believe it or not. They are favored to win tomorrow.
You're only minus 112 tonight. Did that kind of surprise you?
No.
No,
I know it. No, because I just think I don't know. It didn't surprise me, and I'm not trying to get into why, because I feel like people will get mad at me again. Just doesn't surprise me. No, I was surprised though that they're favorites again, minus 135. So they're actually a heavier favorite tomorrow than they were tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, tomorrow feels like a tougher pitching matchup.
I agree,
tonight.
And Montas feels like a wild card, to be quite frank. I mean, you tell me he gives up 8 runs tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised. If you told me he gives up 2 runs, and throws 8.5 innings, I'm like, okay, I could see it too. I wouldn't put it this way. I just wouldn't feel confident betting that either way tomorrow, but that's here nor there. One other quick thing before I forget, the chat, they're all over it. We'll see if we can't get somebody to add in a place for it to go, but I think it's relatively simple, and I'm not trying to make Nick do more work than he does. They just wanted to have the handness somewhere on that little graphic, the left-handed, right-handed, something like that.
That's a great guy. I actually was I wasn't even reading the chat, but I forgot to mention that he is a lefty. So you know what that means? That means the Reds' best hitter of the last month will be in the lineup tomorrow.
Oh, are you talking about Stu?
I mean, the stats do not lie, my friend. The stats do not lie.
He is a lefty. Lefty, which means Stuart Fairchild will be in the lineup. Will Benson probably will not be. Simple as that.
Especially with Friedl back. Yeah.
Hate to say that, but
Friedel's
that's the truth.
fine. I feel like we would have saw some sort of news if there was something more than just a precaution than just pulling him early because they were up 10 runs.
Right. You never know, though. You never know. So we shall find out. All right, folks, let's get to these last few supers. Michael Rolfe, as always, he says, Joey Investigates, a new show sponsored by Meat and Seabox Sports. The show will focus on cowgill and concussions. Joey uses a teleprompter to type the script. Show will be a major success. Might be. Cowgill, do you ever think in his wildest dreams he'd be a main cog in a post game show going off at 12:30 in the morning? Probably not. Leave It at the Table says he is an energy guy though. I do like that out of him. He says Leave It at the Table then chimes in and says the Reds could do the funniest thing ever, and they could have a Noelvi Marte bobblehead night, just a massive noggin. You know, it could. It could make it even more funny if it was sponsored by like apple juice or something.
Real quick, this might be a little really glass half full, but I do feel like Noelvi Marte is the kind of guy that I don't think has missed as much over a short series as a guy like Ellie De La Cruz or even a Will Benson. Because I feel like Marte's value is like that everyday, sure-handed, high floor guy. So I think that he can really help the Reds get to the playoffs, but I don't think in any one particular night, like not having Noelvi Marte in the lineup is necessarily like a killer. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I just think that what it does do is it does, as you've always said, it stretches out that lineup one more guy, and it just makes the lineup feel much more deep and consistent. He does feel like, I guess he feels like a better version of, certainly a better defensive player, like a Spencer Steer, in a little bit of a way. And again, I'm not trying to kill Spencer, but maybe he's still not even as good of a hitter as Noelvi is. But I think I'm trying to give Spencer kudos in saying the fact that Noelvi reminds me of him a little bit. Rolf then says, to round things out, he says, speaking of Reds MILB, Reds have the second pick coming in the draft. Who's your pick? The Georgia outfielder, which is Cadone, is who he's talking about, and the Oregon State middle infielder, and he's talking about Bazana. I think it's Bazana. Both are raking. They are both raking right now in college baseball. Hopefully you've been listening to me. You watch some college baseball. You have super regionals coming up this weekend. That'll be a good watch as well. Listen, college baseball is electric, man. I don't know if you guys watch that at all, but Evansville. Shout out to Evansville Aces. Don't know if you know, but they're right down the road a little bit in Indiana. They're in Reds country. I think they were the 9th ever 4 seed to win a regional. And they had to do it on a Monday, which means they were taken to the last possible game. And shout out to them for winning. But nonetheless, I would love the Reds to get Bazana. I know I can't even say his name right. You're like, how the hell could you possibly want him if you don't know how to say his name? I don't know if you've ever watched him play, but that dude's a stud, like legitimate stud. I don't know how you can be. I don't know how he could not be a big leaguer based off of just how unbelievably gifted he is swinging the bat. And I'm not taking anything away from Condone, the Georgia outfielder. and I'll openly just admit that I'm not like super passionate about this either way. I'm not going to get in an argument with someone about it. And ultimately, the Reds don't get to make a decision anyway, which is kind of like, I like to throw around the word solace, Nick, but like that gives me a little solace. Like the Reds aren't allowed to mess this up. You know, if they had the number 1 pick, there's a chance that they pick like the wrong guy in a way. And the next thing you know, you look back and you're like, oh, they could have had this guy. Instead, they chose the wrong one. Which I don't think is always fair to do anyways. But point is, they're going to take whoever the Guardians don't decide to take. Whoever they don't take, the Reds get, and that's the name of the game.
Yeah, everything I've heard and read, I don't follow this stuff super close. It to me it sounds like flip a coin. Both of those guys, like it's a gift to get either one of them. So it's a good time to be in the top 2. I don't think you can. It's one of those things where both guys are incredibly talented. How do they develop? You know, it's a crapshoot between the two, but you're in the best possible crapshoot that you could possibly be next year.
I mean, they very much both could end up being great major league players. So it's not like, you know, it's certain. But I don't know. I like Bazzana just a little bit more because I feel like he's been kind of like a guy his whole life, and he's Australian, which is pretty cool. I don't know. It seems like it would come with some good sound bites. Maybe that's not the right way to look at it, but yeah, I mean he's basically been a stud his whole life, and so has Condon a little bit, but he's kind of had a coming out of nowhere type moment a little bit, and he's been unbelievable too. So what the hell does it matter? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But they're both playing baseball this upcoming weekend if you want to watch them. One plays for Georgia, other one plays for Oregon State. All right, this has been one heck of a long show. So we're going to get Nick. He's going to do a pillow. He's going to get back to living his life. I'll clear the graphics just so I can see this nice, beautiful pillow. Man, that was silent. I don't know if you muted your mic or what, but that was elite. Some are saying that was elite. All right, folks. Thank you for joining this show. Don't know if you thought it was the best show or the worst show, but it was a show. We did it. We did a show. We do them after every single game. We appreciate all of you. I do know this. Will you do me a favor? Will you go download, rate, and review the podcast? I know that many of you heard me say that a billion times, but if you haven't done it yet, now's your time. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you specifically. Well, you know what? The Reds, they play again tomorrow. And I will be very, very pleased to be able to dunk a basketball. Why? Because the fact is I'd like for them to win a series in Colorado because at this point, I just want to make sure that Elliott Rearing is wrong. That's really my main goal tomorrow. Just to make sure that the Reds win a series in Colorado because I heard how tough it is to win out there. But, meantime, I'm going to go dunk a basketball. But as always, like the show if you haven't already. Rate and review the podcast. The fact that we have this many in the chat right now is ridiculous. I just want to say, love y'all. Go Reds. Here comes a dunk.